So from 10, 2020, the best players of the decade. Tom Brady's number one. Not a big argument there. Aaron Donald's two. I'm getting a lot of arguments. Drew Brees is 3, Richard Sherman 4, Gronk 5, Aaron Rodgers, Von Miller, Julio Jones, J.J. Watt, Luke Kuechly, Joe Thomas, Chris Harris. That's interesting. Evan Mathis, a guard. Harrison Smith. Patrick Willis hasn't played in 6 years. Oh, Russell Wilson's 33rd. A guard made it over him. Calvin Johnson never won a playoff game and retired early. Patrick Willis, several spots ahead, retired 6 years ago. Didn't play half the decade. A safety? 4 of them. 4 safeties. It's interesting. Rob Gronkowski missed 45 games in the decade and was hobbled, was a shell of himself for the last 3 years of the decade. Russell Wilson is not even the top Seahawk. Richard Sherman is ahead of him. Not even Earl Thomas is ahead of him. Oh, good hell. Marshawn Lynch is ahead of him. He's the 4th best Seahawk. Seattle, it should be noted before Russell Wilson, and I'm from Seattle, team I grew up with, was irrelevant before he arrived. The most known thing about the Seahawks was Bosworth getting run over by Bo Jackson. That was like their thing, right? That's what when you thought of Seattle. The Kingdome and Russell, Boz getting run over. They were known for great fans and cool uniforms. That was before Russell Wilson. Now, they are known as a top 5 franchise. Well, Pete Carroll showed up 2 years before Russell and had 2 losing seasons. This ain't a Pete Carroll thing. Pete Carroll was there before, 2 years before. 7-9, 7-9. Seattle was still irrelevant. They just had a famous coach. And a good running back, and a good defense, not denying it. But Seattle now is one of 5 really elite franchises that seem to win every year. New England, Green Bay, the Saints, Baltimore. You get into that kind of Pittsburgh, Seattle. But Baltimore's had down years. We think Pittsburgh mostly has underachieved. And why doesn't New Orleans win those big games late? Really, New England, do you know this, is the only team this decade with more playoff wins than New England. That's it. You think Earl Thomas is the reason for that? Maybe I should ask his brother. I hear they're tight. Anywho, I love Drew Brees. You know I love Drew Brees. First ballot Hall of Famer. I call him a top 8 quarterback of all time. I get pushback. In this decade, Drew Brees has 4 playoff wins. Russell Wilson has 9. Drew Brees had 4 losing seasons in the decade. That's 4 more than Russell Wilson. And Russell didn't even play the entire decade, but yet Matt Ryan is ahead of him here. Ryan's had 4 losing seasons. Matt Ryan had 2 seasons in his career, passer rating over 100. Russell Wilson's career passer rating is over 100. Matt Ryan went 4-12. Russell's never in his life going to have a 4-12 season. Hasn't had even like a bad season. College, NC State, college, Wisconsin, pro, Seattle. 32 NFL GMs, including the one in Atlanta. If Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan were available, would take Russell. Russell's the better passer. Russell's the better athlete. Russell's the better playmaker. Russell makes something out of nothing. Russell can win with bad O-lines. Matt Ryan is overwhelmed with bad O-lines. And I like Matt Ryan. I consider him a top 10 quarterback. And I love Drew Brees. I consider him a first ballot Hall of Famer. You got to be kidding me. Tells me about this. Pro Football Focus should not be working from home. Pro Football Unfocused is what I'm calling it this morning. I will give them next hour a chance to fight for their case. This is absurd. And I've said it before. Russell Wilson is the best football player in the world today. He's not the tallest, doesn't have the best arm. IQ, leadership, playmaking. Russell Wilson literally does things we can't explain. 8 years. Why doesn't he ever get hit? Lamar Jackson's faster, gets hit. Carson Wentz, big, stronger, gets hit. Mahomes last year gets hit. Russell Wilson does stuff nobody can explain. He never gets hit. He runs backwards. He runs sideways. He runs forward. He faces the Niners twice a year. He faces Aaron Donald twice a year. He never gets hit. You can't even explain stuff he does. Russell Wilson, 33rd, 4th Seahawk, best player of the decade. And you wonder, I fight injustice. I am now Batman without the butler. I am fighting this cause. I'm not letting it go. It's ridiculous. And he's the only player on this list I've seen so far that in the last 2 days was rumored to be traded 2 years ago to the Cleveland Browns, and his team wants to bring Cam Newton in as a backup. What? It's incredible to me. We do this all the time, is that if you don't look like everybody else looks like, we don't know what to make of you. It's kind of weird. Russell's he's not the prototypical. This is Lamar Jackson. I'm guilty of it. I'm like, he runs more than he passes, but I didn't consider great coach, great owner, great personnel department, and the league's changing. The running thing works now. You got to kind of run. So, focus. Russell Wilson, Gronk missed 45 games in the decade, hobbled his last 3 years, is 5. Calvin Johnson, Evan Mathis, Patrick Willis. These are good players. I'm not denying it. Russell's below all of them. Never forget, Seattle was, and I'm from there, was an irrelevant franchise known for cool uniforms, Boz getting run over, great fans. Pete Carroll had a losing record in Seattle. If Russell Wilson isn't drafted, Pete's not in the NFL, not in Seattle. He was getting one more year. They were paying him too much. Pete's career, NCAA baggage at USC, NFL, fired twice, 2 losing seasons. If he doesn't draft Russell Wilson, has Matt Flynn, he has a 3rd losing season, he's done. He's now a legend. Okay. That's just where I'm starting today. In a good mood. You know what? What do they say? Not all heroes wear capes. Just wear a sports shirt.
Somewhere button down.
Somewhere button down. Okay. So, okay, I got something else. I got a Tua topic I can't get enough of. But, how everybody always talks. You ever heard about like a comics comic?
Yes.
Say, oh, he's an actor's actor. He's a writer's writer. I don't believe that stuff. If you're great, America finds you. The Beatles were great. They weren't even from here. We love the Beatles. They were, you don't get this music. No, if you're good, we get you when we like you. U2's from Dublin. The Beatles from Liverpool.